The Haunted Beach. Chapter 1. Mornings are the worst. Wake up! Go downstairs and have breakfast, came Mum's voice, flat and stern through the bedroom door. I groaned into my pillow. Mom, it's 6 a.m, I shouted, just as the sunlight burst through the window and smacked me in the face like a flashlight held by an angry ghost. Click! I heard the doorknob turn, then soft footsteps as Mum walked off. She didn't even wait for a reply. Typical. Anyway, I'm Tom. Bright blue eyes, shaggy blonde hair, and taller than most kids my age. Though, honestly, I'm a bit, chubby. I like to say I'm built for comfort, but others just call me fat. Whenever I have more important things to worry about. Oi, Sam, I called, half hopping for a friendly meow. Come here, buddy. No reply. Figures. Sam's our ginger cat, full of attitude, partial to sunbeams, and possibly plotting world demolition. He's my favorite family member. Not gonna lie, unlike my sister Stella. I yawned, dragged myself out of bed, and dressed at the speed of a sleepy snail. It was the holidays after all. No school, no pressure, just the annoying shriek of my little sister every few minutes, and the faint scent of overcooked eggs drifting from the kitchen. When I finally made it to the kitchen, the whole family was already gathered around the table, halfway through breakfast like it was some kind of secret early bird club. Come on, Tom, we're going to the beach. Slowpoke, Stella said with a grin too big for her face. Stella, 8 years old, going on 80, gets all the attention, all the praise, and probably all of the chocolate when I'm not looking. Meanwhile, I'm left to wither in the shadowy corners of the family dynamic like a forgotten sock. We're leaving tomorrow, Mum said, pouring herself a second cup of coffee. 1 full day of travel, flight included, so go pack. This is our big holiday. I perked up a bit. A beach trip sounded decent. I could already imagine sinking into the warm sand, away from school, away from stress. I started shoveling scrambled eggs into my mouth. Then I choked. Stella burst out laughing. Mom, Tom's choking, and he can't have more bacon. Can I have the rest of it? Sure, sweetie, Mom said, smiling as if choking was part of the fun. What? I gasped, thumping my throat, thumping my chest. Leave me at least one slice. Oops, Stella grinned, licking her fingers. I just finished the last piece. I wanted to launch my fork at her face, but I remembered. Vacation tomorrow. If I got grounded now, I might miss the trip. I swallowed my rage along with my eggs and tried to breathe. Somehow, I was still excited. Chapter 2. Packing and Patience. Swimming trunks? Check. Water bottle? Check. Phone? Charger? Check. Surfboard? I wish. Big bags of chips? Double check. Flashlight? Check. Towel? Check. Portable power bank? Check. I muttered the list to myself over and over like it was some ancient spell that would summon good weather. The suitcase on my bed was already bulging. half zipped and stuffed with essentials and non-essentials. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. I hadn't eaten lunch yet. It was nearly noon, but I was in the middle of a boss fight on my PS5, and my hands were sweating like I was holding hot coals. One more hit, and I'd win. Come on, I shouted at CV, and I lost. My thumb slipped again. The final boss blasted me into oblivion, and I flopped back on my bed like a tragic hero defeated in a battle. Later that night, I barely slept. My mind buzzed with excitement and nerves. At 5 a.m., my alarm buzzed, and I shot out of bed like a rocket. Well, more like a sleepy turtle with ambition. We dragged our bags into a taxi waiting outside. Sam glared at me from the windsill, clearly offended that we were leaving him behind. I gave him a two-fingered salute. Hold down the fort, soldier. And with that, our journey to the haunted beach began. Chapter 3. Turbulence and Toy Trouble. Airports are weird. Everyone walks fast, but no one knows where they're going. After checking in and surviving the security line, barefoot, beltless, and bag empty, we made it to our gate. I collapsed into one of those uncomfortable airport seat chairs with a sigh. Did you pack enough snacks? Stella asked with a fake concern, pulling out a chocolate bar and waving it in my face. Starving already, I mumbled, reaching for the bar. She yanked it away. The flight was long, really long. I read part of the book, played 3 different mobile games, and sat at the back of the seat in front of me for so long. I memorized the safety instructions. Turbulence hit. The plane wobbled, and I gripped the armrests. Sam's favorite toy, a little stuffed rabbit I bought for comfort. I slipped out of my backpack and tumbled to the aisle. Before I could grab it, Stella snatched it up and started making it dance like a puppet. You're so clumsy, Tom, she said, chuckling. Give it back! But just as I reached for it, the plane jolted again and the rabbit flew from my arms, right into the airplane bathroom. Yup, toilet bound. Oops, she said, smirking. I stood up to retrieve it, but Mom gently put me back down. It's okay, sweetheart. Let's just get through the flight. But it wasn't okay. That toy meant something to me. I sat back, arms crossed, and stared at nothing. After what felt like 100 years, we landed. As we made our way through customs, something odd happened. A man in a suit stared at me like he recognized me. Then a woman too. Same look, like I was familiar. I ignored it. Just jet lag, right? Right? Chapter 4. Arrival at the beach. The car ride from the airport to the beach resort took another hour. When we finally stepped out, I was immediately hit with the salty breeze and warm sand beneath my shoes. The ocean stretched out like a giant sheet of glass, shimmering under the afternoon sun. Seagulls screamed overhead. People were scattered across the shore. People were scattered across the shore like colorful jelly beans, tanning, swimming, playing. Mom set up our umbrella and laid out beach towels. Stella ran off to collect seashells like a hibernative raccoon. I looked in the back seat for Sam's rabbit toy. No luck. I asked Stella if she saw it. Must have flushed itself, she shrugged. The day passed quickly. I tried to enjoy it, splashing in the waves, building sandcastles, tossing a ball around Dad, but something tugged at the back of my mind like a thread I couldn't ignore. Later, as we walked back to the car, Stella kept glancing over her shoulder. You okay? I asked. I saw someone earlier, she whispered. They were just standing there watching us from the beach. I stopped in my tracks. What did they look like? She shrugged, wide-eyed. I didn't know. Hoodie, pale-faced. I laughed, trying to brush it off. You've been watching too many horror movies. But as we drove away, I looked back, and there, standing at the edge of the dunes, was a figure in a dark hoodie, completely still, watching. Chapter 5. The Note. That night we checked into a cozy little hotel room. 2 beds, a teeny balcony, and a mini fridge that buzzed louder than a chainsaw. As we unpacked, I spotted something on the bedside table. I folded a piece of paper. The handwriting on it was jagged, like it had been written in a rush. Get out while you still can. I froze. Mom? I handed her the note. She glanced at it, raised an eyebrow, and handed it to Stella. Is this some kind of prank? Stella asked, looking mildly impressed. Creepy handwriting. Nice touch. No, it was here, I said. Mom chuckled uneasily. Probably something left over from another guest. But something about it felt wrong. Too direct. Too real. That night, I kept the light on. Not because I was scared. Okay. Maybe a little. Chapter 6. The Locket. Morning came, with a heavy fog over the coast. The view from our hotel balcony looked like a grey blur, the sea hidden beneath a curtain of mist. We were supposed to go kayaking that morning, but Mum said we'd wait until the weather cleared, so we lounged into the room, Stella flipping through cartoons, me lying on the bed staring at the ceiling, still thinking about the note. I couldn't get it out of my head. Who left it? Why us? I went through the backpack again, hoping somehow that Sam's rabbit toy had magically reappeared. Instead, I found something I hadn't packed. A locket. It was silver, a bit tarnished, with a teeny clasp that popped open when I pressed my thumb against it. Inside was a faded photo of a girl. She looked about 13. Brown eyes, shoulder-length hair, a soft smile. Like she belonged in another century. I didn't recognize her, but something about her face made my stomach twist. Stella, I said slowly, holding it up. Did you put this in my bag? She glanced over. Is that jewelry? It's a locket. It's a locket, she said. There. Ew, maybe it's cursed. I ignored her and brought it to Mum. She frowned when she saw it. That looks very old, she said, voice soft. Where'd you find it? In my backpack. She opened it and stared in the photo for a long moment. I think I've seen this girl before, she whispered. Who is she? Mum shook her head. I don't know, but I'll tell you what. We'll ask the front desk. If anyone lost it, Maybe it was left behind the room, but deep down I already knew the truth. It wasn't forgotten. It was planted. Chapter 7. The Second Message. We went down the hotel lobby. Mum asked the lady at the front desk about the locket. No one's reported anything like that, she said, typing something into her computer. But I can keep it at the desk if you want. Mum looked at me. I shook my head. I want to keep it, just in case. We walked back to the elevator. As we waited, I noticed a cleaning cart nearby. On top of it was a folded napkin, just like the note from before. Curious, I wandered over and picked it up. It followed you. That's all it said. No name, no explanation. Just 3 words that made my stomach lurch. I slipped the note into my pocket and didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I wasn't ready. That night, I kept the locket on the nightstand next to me. It was cold to the touch, and sometime around midnight, I woke up to something strange. The locket was glowing. Chapter 8. The Scream. I didn't scream. I didn't even move. I just stared at the soft white glow radiating from the locket like moonlight trapped in metal. Then it stopped. I blinked, and everything was normal again. Room dark, locket still, Stella snoring. I must have imagined it, but when I closed my eyes again, I fell into a dream that felt too real. I was standing on the beach. It was pitch black, except for the stars above and the moon, massive and low, glowing red. Waves crashed at my feet, and something was in the water. A shadow. A figure. It stepped out slowly. A girl, barefoot, her dress dripping wet. Her eyes were hollow. She reached out her hand. Come back, she whispered. I turned to run, but the sand dragged at my feet like quicksand. I stumbled, fell, and then she was there, her face inches from mine. You brought it back, she said. Then I woke up, panting, sweating. The locket was back on the nightstand, still closed. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Chapter 9. The Hidden Map. The next morning, I told Mum about the dream. She didn't laugh. In fact, she looked scared. You dreamed about the girl? You dreamed about a girl? She asked, frowning. What did she say? She said I brought something back. I think she meant the locket. Stella chimed in with her usual sarcasm. Maybe you're haunted now. Better start sleeping with the garlic under your pillow. I ignored her. Can I see the locket again? I picked it up and examined the photo again, looking for any detail I missed. Then I noticed it. The paper behind the photo wasn't a backing. It was thicker than normal. I pried gently with my fingernail and felt it shift. Inside, folded tightly behind the photo, was a teeny piece of parchment, old, crinkled, yellowed. I unfolded it on the table. It was a map, not a regular one, hand-drawn with symbols I didn't recognize. There was an X marked on the lower left corner, and a shape that looked suspiciously like a beach cove. Mum leaned in. That's near where we swam yesterday. Stella grinned. Treasure hunt! But I wasn't smiling. If the locket had a map hidden inside it, then someone meant for us to find it. Chapter 10. Return to the beach. We returned to the beach just after lunch. The skies were clear now, but the air felt strange, still and heavy, like the whole world was holding its breath. We followed the cove marked on the map, circling past some rocky cliffs until we reached a part of the beach that was completely empty. No tourists, no umbrellas, just seaweed, rock pools, and silence. The sand here was darker, wetter, as if the ocean had recently tried to reclaim it. This is a spot, I said, holding the map against the wind. Stella crouched down and started digging like a puppy. If there's treasure, I'm keeping it. We searched for nearly an hour, behind rocks, under driftwood, through tall grasses. Then I saw something. A patch of sand near the cliffside looked off, smoother than the rest, like it had been disturbed. I started digging. The sand was damp and cold, about a foot down. My fingers hit something solid, a wooden box. It was about the size of a lunchbox, sealed shut with a rusted latch. I pulled it free and wiped off the dirt. This is it, I said. Mum looked nervous. Maybe we should wait. But I'd already popped the latch. Inside was a stack of faded papers, tied with a string, and beneath them, another photo. It was the same girl from the locket, but this time she was standing on this very beach. Behind her was a shadow, something tall, something wrong. Chapter 11. The shadow in the photo. Mum studied the photo carefully. This girl, she looks like someone from our family, but much older, maybe an ancestor. I felt a chill. The shadow behind her wasn't human, more like a tall, twisted shape. It made the hairs on my back of my neck stand up. Could it be a ghost? Stella whispered, eyes wide. Mum shook her head. No. Something else. Something dangerous. I flipped through the stack of papers. They were diaries, letters, and maps written in a spidery script that I could barely read. One letter caught my eye. It spoke of a curse placed on the family after disturbing the lost city. A curse that would follow generations unless the ritual was performed. Wait, I said. What ritual? Mum's eyes darkened. That's what we need to find out. Chapter 12. Unearthing the Past. That night, we gathered around the little wooden box on the hotel room floor. I read aloud from the oldest letter. Beware the keeper of the shadows. Only by lightning, the internal flame at the heart of the city, can the curse be held? Internal flame? Stella asked. Sounds like a video game quest. Mum smiled faintly, but looked worried. It's more real than you think. The map led to the lost city. The ancient temple we'd only just glimpsed. It seemed our vacation was turning into a real-life adventure. We need to find that flame, I said, heart pounding, before the curse gets worse. Chapter 13. The Whispering Walls. The next morning, we returned to the jungle path leading to the temple. The air was thick and humid, the canopy above blocking almost most sunlight. Strange noises echoed all around, bird calls, rustling leaves, and something else. Whispering. I tried to ignore it, but the whisper seemed to call my name. We shouldn't be here, Stella said, clutching my arm. But Mum was determined. We have to face this. We reached the temple entrance. The stone statues glared at us like silent guards. I could swear their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. As we stepped inside, the whispering grew louder. We shouldn't be here, the voices hissed. Chapter 14. The Internal Flame. Deeper inside the temple, we found a cavern with a large stone pedestal. On it rested a strange ancient blazer. It looked like it hadn't been lit for centuries. According to the letter, lighting this internal flame was the only way to stop the curse. Mum pulled out a lighter from her bag. Be careful, she warned. I struck the flame and held it to the blazer. Smoke curled upward as a small fire burst to life, glowing with an unnatural blue flame. The whispering stopped. Suddenly, the cavern shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the air grew heavy. Did we do the right thing? Stella whispered. Chapter 15. The Awakening. As we turned to leave, a shadow moved in the corner of my eye. The girl from the locket, or her spirit, reappeared at the edge of the firelight. Her eyes, once hollow, now burned with fierce determination. You have done well, she said, but the curse is not yet broken. The ground trembled beneath our feet. We had taken the first step, but the true danger was only beginning. Chapter 16. The Warning. We hurried out of the temple, hearts pounding. The jungle around us seemed darker, more alive. Mum said, that spirit. She's trying to help us, but there are others who don't want the curse lifted. What others? I asked. Shadow creatures, she whispered. They guard the lost city, and they don't like visitors. Stella shivered. Great. Shadow monsters. Just what I needed. Chapter 17. The Chase. As we made our way back to the beach, the forest suddenly grew quiet. Too quiet. I felt eyes watching us. Then a low growl echoed behind us. We broke into a run. Branches whipped at our faces, roots snagged at our feet. Behind us, heavy footsteps crashed through the underbush. I glanced back. Shadowy figures were chasing us. Chapter 18. The Hidden Cave. Panting and desperate, we stumbled upon a narrow cave entrance concealed by vines. Without thinking, we darted inside. The cave was dark and damp. The air smelled of earth and something metallic. We could hear the creatures outside, snarling and scratching at the cave mouth. We're trapped, Stella whispered. Not if we find another way out, Mum said, pulling out a flashlight. We moved deeper into the cave, unsure what awaited us. Chapter 19. The Secret Chamber. After wending through twisting tunnels, we found a hidden chamber. The walls were covered in ancient symbols and paintings of people and strange beasts. At the center was an altar with a glowing crystal pulsating softly. I reached out to touch it. Suddenly, the cave lit up with an eerie blue light. The crystal seemed to hum like it was alive. Chapter 20. The Power Within. As I held the crystal, a rush of warmth spread through my body. Images flashed in my mind, visions of the lost city, the curse, and a family's legacy. I realized the crystal was the key. We have to use this, I said, to end the curse once and for all. Mum nodded. But we need to be careful. The power comes with a price. Stella grinned nervously. So, adventure and danger. Just like a movie. Chapter 21. Preparing the ritual. Back in the hotel, we gathered everything we might need for the ritual described in the old letters. Candles, matches, salt, the crystal, and the locket. Mum spread the map out on the table again. The spot marked X is where we must perform the ritual, she said. We only have one chance. Stella looked nervous, but determined. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew this was it. Chapter 22. Into the Night. That evening, we returned to the beach under a sky thick with stars. The air was crisp and cold, a sharp contrast to the humid jungle. We walked towards a spot marked on the map. The ocean whispered beside us. Waves crashing softly. I held the crystal tight, feeling its strange energy pulsing. Chapter 23. The ritual begins. We formed a circle around the altar Mum had found earlier near the shore. Mum lit the candles, and Stella scattered salt in a protective ring. I placed the crystal in the center. Mum began chanting words from the ancient letters, her voice steady but soft. The flames flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows. Chapter 24. The curse fights back. Suddenly, the wind picked up violently. The waves grew taller, crashing against the rocks with fury. Dark shapes appeared in the water, shadow creatures trying to break the protective circle. Stella grabbed my arm, eyes wide. "We have to keep going," Mum said. I clenched the crystal as the creatures lunged towards us. Chapter 25. Light against darkness. The crystal glowed brighter and brighter, pushing back the shadows. Mum's chanting grew louder. With a final burst of light, the shadow creatures shrieked and vanished beneath the waves. The wind died down. The ocean calmed. We were silent, breathing hard. The curse was broken. Or so we hoped. Chapter 26. Aftermath. The air felt lighter. The heavy weight that had hung over us seemed to lift. Mum smiled softly. We did it. Stella let out a breath she'd been holding. "I'm never doubting you again." I looked at the crystal. It was dim now, like it had given all its power. "Is it really over?" I asked. Mum nodded. "For now. But some mysteries never fully disappear." Chapter 27. The Goodbye. We packed up our things and prepared to leave the beach behind. Sam's toy, the little rabbit, was waiting on my bed in the hotel room. I picked it up, feeling a strange warmth. "Guess you had your own adventure," I whispered. Stella hugged me. "Next vacation, no curses." I laughed. Chapter 28. Homecoming. Back at the airport, everything seemed normal again. People rushed, announcements blared, luggage rolled, but I felt different, stronger, like I carried something important with me. Mum squeezed my shoulder. "Welcome back, Tom." I smiled, ready for the next adventure. Chapter 29. The Legacy. At home, I tucked the locket and crystal safely away. I knew this was just the beginning of our family story. There are secrets still waiting to be uncovered. And maybe, just maybe, more adventures ahead. Chapter 30. The Haunted Beach. A new beginning. That night, I stood by my window, looking out at the stars. The haunted beach was far away now, but its mysteries stayed with me. I felt the pull of something greater, a connection to the past and a hope for the future. The adventure wasn't over. It had only just begun. The Nighttime Nightmare. Chapter 1. 13 Candles. I loved being scared. Not the kind of scared that makes you run away from a dog or scream at a spider. I liked the kind of scared that makes your skin crawl and your heart pound. I was always fascinated by monsters, especially one monster. Its name was the Nighttime Nightmare. I first read about it when I was 11 years old. It was in an old book I found at school. The title was scratched on the page. The Nighttime Nightmare. It told a scary story about a creature. That it came out when the moon was hidden. It lived deep in the forest and didn't have a face, just a long twisting mouth full of teeth. I was hooked. I started drawing it, writing my own stories about it, even leaving peanut butter sandwiches in the woods behind our house, just in case I was hungry. My parents thought I was going through a phase, but I knew that the Nighttime Nightmare was real. Chapter 2. The Voice in My Head. As I grew older, strange things started to happen. I would hear whispers in my ear, soft and raspy. It sounded like someone was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't quite understand what it said. I tried to ignore it, but the voice grew louder and more insistent. It started to sleep into my dreams, where I could find myself lost in the dark forests and shadowy clearings. My parents thought I was going crazy, but I knew that the Nighttime Nightmare was talking to me. One night, I saw a message on my bedroom wall, symbols etched into the bark of the tree. They seemed to be pulsing with an otherworldly energy. The voice whispered answers in my ear, cryptic. Messages that seemed to hold secrets and warnings. I felt like I was being pulled deeper into woods, deeper into darkness. Chapter 3. The Whispered Warning. One night, I went back to the woods, determined to face the Nighttime Nightmare. As I walked through the forest, the symbols on the wall seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. I saw a clearing in front of me, and in the center of it stood an ancient tree with a single candle burning on top. Suddenly, I heard a whispering voice. The Nighttime Nightmare. Do not look into its eyes, it whispered. Do not try to understand what it means. But I was too curious. I reached out to touch the trunk of the tree. As I did, everything went black. Chapter 4. The Nighttime Nightmare's Gift. When I came to, I found myself in a dark underground chamber filled with ancient artifacts, and strange glowing orbs. In the center of the room, standing atop a pedestal of twisted stone, was the nighttime nightmare. Its eyes glowed like embers in the dark, watching me with an unblinking gaze. The voice whispered one final time, "Welcome." I knew then that I had made a terrible mistake. Chapter 5. The Darkness Devours. As I gazed upon the nighttime nightmare, I felt a creeping sense of dread. Its twisted body seemed to writhe and twist before my eyes, like a living shadow come to life. But something strange happened. I felt myself being pulled into its world. It was like I was being sucked into a black hole with no way out. I knew that I was doomed. The nighttime nightmare had me now. There was no escape from its twisted world of horror and despair. But even as the darkness closed in around me, I couldn't help feel a twinge of excitement. I was facing my fears, and I wasn't sure if I would make it out alive. Chapter 6. The Journey Begins. As I ventured deeper into the nighttime nightmare's world, I realized that this place was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was like a twisted mirror reflection of the real world. Everything was distorted and warped, but still recognizable. I saw strange creatures moving through the shadows. Some were humanoid, while others were monstrous with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws. The nighttime nightmare began to speak to me again, its voice echoing in my mind. "You have been chosen," it said. "Chosen to face your deepest fears and overcome them." I was skeptical, but I knew that I had to see this through. I was determined to find out what the nighttime nightmare wanted from me. Chapter 7. The Maze of Reflections. As I journeyed deeper into the heart of the nighttime nightmare's world, I found myself in a maze of twisted reflections. Every path led to another path, and every door opened onto a new room filled with strange objects and eerie sounds. I saw my own reflection staring back at me from every surface, distorted and warped, just like everything else in this place. But as I gazed deep into his eyes, I began to see something unexpected. My parents, smiling happily, standing together beside me as children. My best friend, laughing and joking with me on a sunny day. The memories were bittersweet, but they reminded me of the good things in life, the love and connection that made everything worthwhile. Chapter 8. The Shadow Within. As I navigated the maze, I began to realize that this place was not just a physical realm, it was also a metaphysical one, a manifestation of my own fears and doubts. The nighttime nightmare spoke to me again, its voice echoing in my mind. You must confront your shadow, it said, the part of you that is afraid to face darkness. I knew then that I had been running from my own fears for too long. It was time to face them head on and overcome them. Chapter 9. The Battle Within. As I journeyed deeper into the heart of the nighttime nightmares world, I found myself in a dark and twisted battle arena. The creatures from earlier were there, but they were no longer just monsters. They were aspects of my own fizz. The shadow self, the part of me that was afraid to face darkness, stood before me, its eyes blazing with fury. The inner light, the part of me that shone bright and true, stood opposite it, its light illuminating the darkest corners of my soul. I knew then that this was the ultimate test, a battle within myself to emerge ferocious or succumb to the shadows. Chapter 10. The Final Confrontation. As I faced my shadow self, I realized that this was not just a fight between good and evil. It was a confrontation with my own fears and doubts. The nighttime nightmare watched from the sidelines, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly energy. Will you emerge victorious? It asked, its voice echoing in my head. I took a deep breath, drawing upon every last ounce of courage and determination within me. I reached out to touch the shadow self's hand, and as I did, everything went black once more. Chapter 11. The Morning After. When I came to, I found myself back in the forest, standing before the ancient tree with the single candle burning on top. But something was different. I felt changed, like I had been transformed by my journey. The symbols on the wall seemed to pulse with a new energy, one that spoke of hope and redemption rather than fear and darkness. I knew then that I had emerged victorious from the nighttime nightmares world, armed with a newfound courage and determination. As they reached out for me, I felt a wave of cold, dark energy wash over me. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart, revealing the abscess of darkness and despair. I tried to scream, but my voice was drowned out by the sound of my own heartbeat. The creature's eyes seemed to be sucking all the light out of the world, only leaving an endless black void. And then everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on a cold, hard surface. My head was pounding, and my body felt like it had been put through a ringer. I looked around, trying to take in what was happening, but everything seemed different. The chamber was gone, replaced by a twisted, nightmarish landscape that seemed to shift. I looked around, that seemed to shift and writhe like a living thing. The creatures were still there, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. They moved towards me, their arms outstretched like skeletal hands. I tried to run, but my legs felt heavy, as if rooted to the spot. I was trapped, and I knew it. And then I heard the nighttime nightmare's voice whispering in my ear. "You are mine now," it said. You will never be free." As it spoke, the creatures reached out for me, their hands grasping for mine like skeletal fingers. I felt a wave of cold, dark energy wash over me, and everything went black once again. This time, when I came to, I was alone in a desolate, nightmarish landscape. The sky was a deep, bloody red, and the air was thick with an otherworldly energy. I stumbled forward, trying to find some way out of this twisted world, but every step seemed to lead me deeper into the darkness. And then I saw a figure in the distance, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. It was the nighttime nightmare, and it was coming for me. I tried to run, but my legs felt heavy, as if rooted to the spot. The nighttime nightmare's eyes seemed to be sucking all the light out of the world, leaving only an endless black void. And then everything went black. Chapter 12. The End. It's been 2 months since the nighttime nightmare accident. I'm well and going back to school. I rushed to the library first thing I got to school and found that the nighttime nightmare book was missing. But what I found was more. Right behind it was a torn old book that had the same scribble. The midnight monster had woken up. The Shadow in the Attic. Chapter 1. Emma pressed her face to the car window as the streets rolled past. She and her brother, Jack, were leaving the city behind. Trees grew taller, the houses further apart, and finally the car turned onto a quiet road called Willow Lane. Their new house stood at the very end. It was big, with grey walls and tall windows. A garden full of weeds surrounded it, and an old oak tree leaned over the roof like a watchful guard. "This is it," Dad said cheerfully. "Home sweet home." Jack wrinkled his nose. "It looks old." "It looks interesting," Emma said. She liked the crooked chimney and the balcony with iron railings. It felt like the kind of place where adventures might happen. Inside, the house was full of echoes. Every footstep bounced off the walls. The wallpaper in the hallway had faded flowers on it, and the wooden staircase creaked when Emma climbed it. "Your room's upstairs," Mum called. Emma's room had a slanted ceiling and a window that looked out at the oak tree. Jack was across the hall. Emma dropped her backpack on the bed and smiled. It was quiet here, different, but maybe in a good way. That night, after unpacking, the family ate pizza on the living room floor. The house didn't feel scary at all, just new. Chapter 2. The next morning, Emma woke up to sunlight streaming through her window. Birds were chirping in the oak tree outside. She pulled on her sneakers and went to find Jack. Want to explore the garden? She asked. Jack shrugged. As long as there aren't any snakes. They pushed through the tall grass, poking at weeds with sticks. The garden was wild and overgrown, but Emma liked it. She found a broken bird bath, some crumbling stone steps, and even a rusty bicycle lying on its side. Cool, Jack said, climbing onto the bike. The wheels groaned, but didn't move. Beyond the garden was a wooden fence with missing planks. Through the gaps, Emma saw the edge of a small forest. It looked dark and quiet, even though the sun was out. Bet there are trails in there, Emma said. We should explore sometime. Jack peered through the fence. Maybe, but it looks kind of spooky. Emma laughed. Only at night. They went back inside when Mum called them for lunch. The day was bright and normal. Still, Emma passed the top of the stairs. She noticed a narrow door she didn't see before. It was small with a metal handle. Probably just a closet, she thought. She didn't open it. Not yet. Chapter 3. On Monday, Emma and Jack started at their new school. Emma felt nervous as they walked into the classroom. Everyone seemed to already know each other. At recess, Emma sat on a bench, nibbling her sandwich. A girl with curly brown hair walked up. Hi, I'm Lily, she said with a smile. You just moved into the old house on Willow Lane, right? Emma nodded. Yeah. How did you know? Everyone knows about that house, Lily said. It's been empty for years. Jack, who was sitting nearby, perked up. Why was it empty? Lily shrugged. I don't know. People just never stayed long. My grandma says it's because it's too drafty and old. She grinned. Want to play tag? Emma felt relieved. Lily seemed nice, and by the end of recess, they were laughing and running across the playground together. That afternoon, when Emma and Jack got home, the house felt a little less lonely. Chapter 4. After school, Emma climbed the oak tree in the garden. She liked the way the branches spread wide, almost like arms. From the top, she could see over the fence and into the forest beyond. The trees grew thick and dark, their leaves whispering in the wind. She thought she saw a path leading inside, but it vanished quickly in the shadows. Emma, come down, Jack called. Mom says dinner's ready. Emma started to climb down, but paused. On the highest branch, scratched into the wood, were some letters, faded and rough, like they had been carved years ago. She leaned closer. The letters spelled one word. Stay. Emma frowned. Stay where? Stay away? Or stay here? She shook her head and climbed down. Probably just something some kid had carved a long time ago. Nothing to worry about. Still, as she went inside, she glanced back at the word one more time. Chapter 5. The Strange Closet. It was raining the next Saturday, so Emma and Jack stayed inside while Jack built a tower of blocks in his room. Emma wandered into the hallway. Her eyes landed on the little door at the top of the stairs, the one she had noticed before. It was so small she had to crouch to reach the handle. Just a closet, she told herself. She pulled it open. Inside, the space was dusty and narrow. Shelves lined the walls, holding jars of nails, old shoes, and a cracked lantern. At the very back was a folded-up ladder leaning against the wall. Emma touched it. The ladder looked like it hadn't been moved in years, but her fingers came away clean, no dust at all. Before she could look closer, Mum called from downstairs. "Emma, can you help set the table?" Emma quickly closed the door, but later she passed it again. She noticed something odd. The door wasn't quite shut anymore. Chapter 6. That night, the rain poured harder, drumming against the windows. The house groaned with the wind, and the oak tree branches scratched against Emma's glass. She pulled her blanket tight around her shoulders and tried to sleep. Then she heard it. A whisper. At first, she thought it was the rain, but the sound grew clearer, floating just above her head. It seemed to come from the ceiling. Emma held her breath. The whisper was soft, almost too soft to hear, but she could make out the sound of words sliding slowly through the dark. Stay. Emma sat up in bed, heart pounding. She looked around her room. Nothing was there. The house went quiet again, as if it hadn't made a sound at all. She lay back down, but this time she kept her eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling until morning light finally crept in. Chapter 7. On Sunday afternoon, Emma decided to show Jack the little closet. "It's just shelves and junk," she whispered as they crouched in at the doorway. "But look at this." She pointed to the folded ladder at the back. Jack frowned. "Where does it go?" he asked. Emma pulled it out carefully. Dust rose in the air. Even though the ladder itself was strangely clean, she leaned it against the wall. But when it touched the ceiling, something clicked. A hidden square door popped open above them. "It's a hatch!" Jack gasped. Emma's stomach tightened. She hadn't seen that before. Slowly, she pushed the ladder up through this opening. A cool breath of air floated down. The space above was pitch black. Jack whispered, "That must be the attic." Emma nodded, but her hands trembled. For some reason, she thought of climbing up there made her skin crawl. They didn't go inside. Not yet. They just shut the latch and pushed the ladder back. But Emma couldn't stop thinking about the darkness waiting above them. Chapter 8. That night, the storm had passed, leaving the air heavy and still. Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Again, she told herself she was being silly. The whispers weren't real. The letter didn't mean anything. Then, creak! Emma sat up. The sound had come from directly above her room. Creak! Creak! Her heart thudded. Someone or something was walking in the attic. She held her breath and listened. The footsteps moved slowly across the ceiling, then stepped right above her bed. Silence. Emma didn't dare move. She clutched her blanket and whispered in the dark, "Please go away." Then, faintly, the footsteps started again. But this time, they were coming closer to the hatch in the hallway. Emma could almost hear the ladder shift. Chapter 9. The next morning, Emma was pale and quiet at breakfast. "You look tired," Mom said. "Didn't sleep," Emma mumbled. Jack glanced at her, curious, but Emma didn't say more. She didn't want to scare him. After school, Emma and Jack went upstairs again. The little closet door was still slightly open, as if waiting for them. Jack grinned nervously. "Let's just take one quick look." Emma swallowed hard, but nodded. Together, they pulled down the ladder and pushed open the attic hatch. The air above smelled musty and damp. They climbed slowly, their flashlights shaking in their hands. The attic stretched wide, filled with dusty furniture and cobwebs. "See?" Jack whispered. "Nothing here." But then Emma's light caught something in the far corner. A figure. Not standing, not sitting, just crouched low, its shape swallowed by shadow. Emma gasped. Jack froze. The figure didn't move, didn't breathe, just crouched, staring at them with two faintly glowing eyes. Emma yanked Jack's arm. "Go!" They scrambled back down the ladder, slamming the hatch shut. The house went silent again, as if nothing had happened. Chapter 10. That night, Emma locked her bedroom door for the first time. She lay awake, listening to every creak and groan the house made. Hours passed. The moonlight crept across her floor. Then came the sound. Tap, tap, tap. Soft knocks on her bedroom door. Emma's breath caught. She stared at the doorknob, her blanket clutched to her chest. Tap, 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 slow and steady. She wanted to scream for Mum and Dad, but her voice wouldn't come out. The knocking grew louder. The doorknob rattled. And then, without warning, the sound stopped. Silence. Emma waited. 10 seconds. 20. Finally, she crept to the door and pressed her ear against it. Nothing. She let out a shaky breath. Maybe she had dreamed it. But when she looked down, her heart nearly stopped. On the floor, just under the doorframe, were 3 long black fingerprints smeared across the wood. Chapter 11. The next day felt strangely ordinary. Sunshine streamed through the kitchen window. Dad was reading the newspaper, Mum was making pancakes, and Jack was sneaking extra syrup when he thought no one was looking. Emma forced a smile and tried to act normal. Maybe she had dreamed the knocking. Maybe her mind was just playing tricks on her because the house was so old and creaky. At school, Lily ran up to her. Want to come over later? We could do homework together. Emma agreed. The afternoon passed quickly. Math problems, snacks, and playing catch in Lily's backyard. For a while, Emma forgot all about the attic and the eyes in the corner. That night, tucked into bed, she almost felt safe again. The oak tree swayed gently outside her window, and the house seemed quiet. But deep down, she knew the silence couldn't last forever. Chapter 12. The next evening, it started again. Emma woke in the middle of night to faint creaks above her ceiling. Slow, careful footsteps. She sat up, trembling, and listened. The sound circled her room from above, then stopped at the corner, right where the shadow had crouched before. Emma clapped her hands over her ears, willing the noise to stop. Finally, it faded. She barely slept until morning. At breakfast, she blurted out, "There's something in the attic. I heard it walking. It came to my room." Her parents froze. Dad lowered his mug of coffee. Mum frowned. "Sweetheart," Mum said gently, "this house is old. Wood expands, floorboards creak. You just need time to get used to it." "No," Emma said, her voice trembling. "It's not just creaks. I saw it, eyes in the corner, and it knocked on my door." Jack dropped his spoon. "She's telling the truth," he whispered. But Mum only smiled nervously and touched Emma's hand. We've had a big move. New school, new room. Sometimes our minds play tricks when we're tired." Emma's heart sank. They didn't believe her. She glanced up at the ceiling. She knew what she'd heard. She knew what she'd seen. And she knew whatever was in the attic wasn't going away. Chapter 13. Emma and Jack decided they had to prove something was wrong. They whispered plans at breakfast. "We'll put the recorder under my bed," Jack said, "and my phone on the windowsill to film the ceiling." Emma nodded. They set everything up that afternoon. They taped the phone to the windowsill and hid the small voice recorder under Emma's bed. Then they pretended nothing was different. They watched TV downstairs and tried not to look at the stairs. That night, they stayed awake for longer than usual. Hours passed with only the clock ticking. The house was quiet, too quiet. At 2:14 a.m., a soft scuff came from above, the sound of footsteps moving slowly. Emma's throat tightened. Her fingers dug into the blanket. She pointed at the window where the phone was. The screen was dark. The video would show everything. The footsteps stopped right above her head, then moved away. Emma prayed the recorder had caught it. In the morning, they rushed to check. The recorder had a short whisper at the end, just like before. "Stay." The phone screen was cracked, though they had no idea how it got that way. The video file, however, was gone. Someone or something had deleted it. Emma felt sick. If their proof vanished, who would believe them? Chapter 14. That afternoon, Lily came over looking pale. Her face was small and worried. "My grandma, Miss Carter, she didn't wake up this morning," Lily said, voice shaking. "The police say she passed away." Emma and Jack followed Lily to Mrs. Carter's little house down the lane. Neighbors stood with sad faces. Flowers sat on the porch steps. The police car was gone, but a policeman nodded to them and said softly, "It looks like she had a heart attack." She was an older lady. Everyone hugged Lily. Emma felt a cold knot in her stomach, in her chest. Miss Carter had always warned people about the old house. She had told Lily that the place had a strong wind in its rooms and stories that made her shiver. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the cracked phone and the deleted video. She thought the small black fingerprints under her bedroom door. She thought of the whisper on the recorder. Before bed, she walked to Lily's porch to leave a note. The front step was dark. As Emma reached down, her fingers brushed something on the wood. It was long, black smear, like a fingerprint stretched across the step. Emma pulled back, heart pounding. The smear looked just like the prints she'd seen on her own floor that night. The door had been knocked. She held the smell of flowers and damp leaves in the air and thought, this can't be a coincidence. Chapter 15. The week after Mrs. Carter's funeral, things seemed calmer. Emma and Jack went to school every day, played soccer at recess, and even had Lily over to do homework. At home, Mum baked cookies for Dad, and Dad worked on fixing the squeaky front gate. Everything looked ordinary, like life had finally gone back to normal. Emma even laughed when Jack tried to balance a cookie on his nose and dropped it on the carpet. For a while, she felt safe. One afternoon, she and Lily sat under the oak tree reading comic books. The breeze was soft, and the sky was bright. See, Lily said, nothing's wrong with your house. You're getting used to it. Emma wanted to believe her. She wanted to think she'd imagined everything, the whispers, the footsteps, the fingerprints. Maybe her parents were right. Maybe she was just tired and scared from moving. That night, she even slept with her lights off for the first time in weeks. Chapter 16. It was nearly midnight when Emma woke. At first, she didn't know why. The house was silent. The moonlight made her room glow pale silver. She turned over and closed her eyes. Creak! Her heart skipped slowly. She sat up. The sound came again. Footsteps, heavy and dragging, across the attic floor. Emma froze. Suddenly, the attic hatch in the doorway groaned. The wood popped. The hinges squealed. The hatch was opening. Emma scrambled out of bed, pressing her ear to the door. A scraping sound echoed from the hallway. Something was climbing down the ladder. Her breath came fast and shallow. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The footsteps reached the landing, slow, careful, moving toward her room. The doorknob rattled twice. Then, silence. Emma backed away, shaking. And that's when she saw it. In the corner of her room, where the moonlight didn't reach, something darker than the dark itself was crouched. Its eyes glowed faintly, fixed on her. This time, it wasn't just watching. It stood up. Chapter 17. Emma's scream ripped from her throat. At last, she bolted for the door, fumbling with the knob, but it wouldn't turn. Behind her, the thing in the corner moved, slow at first, then faster. It didn't walk. It slid like smoke, twisting across the floor. Blacker than night itself, its eyes glowed brighter, burning white in the dark. Let me out! Emma cried, banging on the door. The shadow rushed at her. Freezing air slammed into her back, making her skin sting. She spun around, and for one terrible second, its face was inches from hers. It wasn't a man. It wasn't an animal. It was emptiness, a hollow mask with no mouth and endless black inside. She staggered away, tripping over her bed. The shadow loomed above, stretching taller, its long arms reaching. Then, bang! The bedroom light flicked on. Jack stood in the doorway, pale and shaking. The knob had turned easily for him. Emma! He shouted. The shadow froze. It hissed, a sound like air escaping a broken pipe. Then, as the light filled the room, it folded back into the corner and vanished like smoke. Chapter 18. Jack rushed to her side. What happened? Emma couldn't speak. Her chest heaved, and she pointed to the corner. It almost touched me. Jack shook his head. I didn't see anything. Emma held out her arm. On her wrist, where the shadow had nearly grabbed her, was a black handprint burned into her skin. Jack gasped. Okay, I believe you. The mark throbbed cold, like ice pressed against her skin. Emma tried to rub it off, but it wouldn't fade. It sank deeper, like the darkness had soaked inside her. Jack whispered, Emma, what if it's not just this attic anymore? What if it can come anywhere it wants? The shadow wasn't just haunting the attic, it was haunting her. Chapter 19. Emma barely slept after the shadow attack. The black mark on her wrist pulsed softly, like a heartbeat she could feel in her own veins. She stayed up all night, watching the attic hatch. Every creak, every groan made her stomach twist. She didn't know who to trust anymore. That morning, she tiptoed into the kitchen. Her parents were unusually quiet, sitting at the table. The smiles didn't reach their eyes. Mom? Dad? Emma's voice shook. Her mom leaned forward, her expression almost calm. Emma, you're stronger than we thought. What are you talking about? Emma asked. Her father stood, and finally his shadow stretched across the floor unnaturally, longer than it should have. It twisted and flickered, darker than any normal shadow. Jack stepped out from behind the table, holding something in his hand, a small black stone, pulsing with a dark light. Emma froze. Jack? Don't be scared, Emma, Jack said softly, but the cold in his voice made her blood run ice. You think the shadow is just something in the attic, Mum said, smiling, but it's always been part of us, part of our family, and now part of you. Emma's heart stopped. Chapter 20. Before she could run, the shadow surged from the corner of the room, but it wasn't alone. It followed from her parents' feet, wrapping around them as if they were controlling it. Jack stepped closer, holding out the black stone. It's time, Emma. You have to join us. No, Jack, please, Emma screamed. The shadow's darkness swirled around her, tremulous, reaching, pulled her towards the corner. The black mark on her wrist burned hotter than ever. Her parents' eyes glowed white in the dark. Jack's smile was cold, unrecognizable. Emma struggled, but the darkness was too strong, and just before I could pull her into shadow, everything went black. A whisper floated through the darkness, chilling her to the bone. Welcome home, Emma.